It's not often long dormant franchises come back after being away for so long, but there has definitely been a resurgence with many a game coming back, like Streets of Rage to Alex the Kid. Though I feel a big part of these older titles stepping back into the spotlight would have to do with the Crash Bandicoot Sane trilogy, where everyone's favourite marsupial was back to spin into action. It showed that these neglected IPs still had mileage in them and that people were thirsty for more. And in 2020, we got just that. After 2 remakes, we finally got a brand new sequel in the Crash Bandicoot line of games, coming 12 years after the last mainline sequel, Mind Over Mutant. I'm Pat Curley from the Republic of Players, and join me as I discuss my love for Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time, as well as my wholehearted frustrations of this game, breaking me down bit by bit till really there was barely anything left. So, the first thing Crash Bandicoot 4 decides to do is wipe the slate clean by pretty much abandoning everything that came after Crash 3 and kicking off after the end of the 3rd game. Uka Uka rips open the fabric of time and space, allowing for Dr. Neo Cortex and Entropy to escape from their time prison. Yet this distorts the balance of dimensions, and it's up to Crash and Coco, along with friends, to make sure you stop the evildoers and stabilize the world. Now, the narrative is honestly quite simple, and it works exceedingly well in that regard. There's definitely a stronger focus on the gameplay aspect of this game, and the story is mainly there to piece together why you are going through these areas. But I was honestly sad we didn't get more interactions between characters, because they're frankly quite cute and charming. I just wanted to see more of it, as I simply couldn't get enough of it. But at the end of the day, it's a good simple story that is very easy to sit back and enjoy. But enough about that, let's get into the meat of this game, the mechanics, because they're quite brilliant. This certainly feels like what a modern day Crash game should be, and continues on as a fine example of an evolution from the original 3 games. You have your spin, slide and double jump among your repertoire of moves, but the big mix-up comes from the new quantum masks, which grant various abilities that really make for some brilliant platforming segments. One of my favourites has to be the first quantum mask you come across, that allows you to shift between dimensions, bringing platforms in and out of existence, and it is utilised so bloody well. Each mask really brings its own flair, with others being an unlimited spin dash that can help you glide, one that controls gravity, and a mask that affects time, slowing it down. Now, all these sound like fun skills to play around with, but the biggest thing that allows them to shine has to be the level design throughout this whole game. The platforming is just excellent and used to its fullest with the abilities of the quantum masks, and it is so satisfying to play through these segments. The level design is just pure top class and makes this game stand as one of the strongest platformers I've played in a long time. Crash 4 offers up quite the bit of variety when it comes to gameplay, as you now have more characters to play with. You have Crash and Coco who play roughly the same from the previous games, but then you have Tawna, who has a few unique moves of her own, with a grappling hook to reach new areas, but also hitboxes and enemies that allows for long-ranged attacks. She also has a wall jump, but then she lacks the ability to slide. We then have Dingodile, who is a compelling one, with a suck cannon to attract TNT crates to fire at enemies or obstacles. He also has his jump, which is more him hovering for a small period of time, which is honestly quite fun to mess around with. Then we have Dr. Neo Cortex, who is quite possibly the most interesting of them all. He's a bit lackluster in most departments, but he has the ability to transform foes into platforms of 2 kinds, one being a purely solid platform, while the other is turning them to jelly to give him an extra boost in jumping. This creates some of the more compelling platform sections, as he's more limited than other characters and makes his missions a bit more thought-provoking to get through. It's almost more puzzle-like when you play as the Mad Doctor. The variation in gameplay between all these characters is honestly quite refreshing and helps to mix up the formula ever so slightly, bringing their own challenges that I wasn't expecting. I wish there'd actually been more missions involving these side characters, as they were just that much fun to play with. However, they do all get a chance to shine, and I hope going forward with the series that we get more of them. and that this idea of diversity with characters and gameplay isn't forgotten and thrown to the wind. There's a handful of new features thrown in that add to the already established linear platforming levels that we all know and love from the series. We have wall running and grinding on rail sections, which are nice mix-ups when they appear and just add in a new aspect that is enjoyable, though they start to become much more engaging and fun in later levels due to being more complex. But it felt like it took too long to get to that point for me. One of the most life-saving mechanics added into this game would have to be the wee yellow circle that appears below you when you jump, showing where you will land, which is just such an amazing attribute that really helps the platforming in general, and I don't want to imagine how many times I would have fallen to my death if it wasn't there. We also have two new types of boxes, one where it spits out flames that can burn you, and then there's timed boxes where you hit a switch and you have a certain amount of time to get them all, or have to go back to hit the switch and try again. The switch boxes are more annoying than anything else, just on the premise that if you miss one, you have to go all the way back and get the switch just to get all the boxes. But the rest of these new gameplay mechanics are fun and fit in well. The boss battles are great, they all feel distinctive and are just a blast to play through. I'm a bit disappointed that no new characters were added in, but getting to fight those from previous games is still incredible. Just would have been nice to have a new fresh boss for the game. There's even a nice callback to the first Crash Bandicoot, which pays homage to the boss battle with Embryo hulking out. But there's so many callouts to past games, and even to Spyro the Dragon. Like, look at this Spyro float, I love that float, I need it in real life. The boss fights are all engaging and full of life, which makes them a joy to play through, and defeating the rogue gallery from the past of Crash Bandicoot is just stellar. One feature that was implemented very well into Crash 4 was the inverted levels, which are so goddamn creative in some areas, and adds replay value to the game if you wish to play through the previous levels with a new look. It's basically going through old missions you have done, but inverted and with a little twist for each world, with my favourite being able to colour in the levels around you when you spin or break crates. It's just so bloody satisfying. Some of them can be a little underwhelming compared to others, like the echo of your movements to give some sort of bad vision, but they are mostly really neat and are a compelling enough reason to go back and play all these levels again, extending the game's life. Though it also helps if you're going for costumes, as the inverted levels have 6 extra gems to go along with them, giving 12 gems for each stage and needing 6 to acquire the many different skins for the characters. And can we just take a moment to appreciate the visuals? Holy moly, they are just brimming with energy and look downright stunning. The world is colourful and sparkling with life, and is just incredibly detailed, and the all-round diversification of the areas you explore are brilliant. Each world has its own feel, and it's just beautiful to play around in. And let's not forget the character designs and animation. This is easily my favourite designs hands down for all these characters. Not only are they super appealing just to admire, but the animations for each is wacky and so expressive. It honestly feels like you're playing a crazy Saturday morning cartoon from the good old days like Tom and Jerry or Looney Tunes at points, with just how cartoony everything is, and I love it. It's impeccably charming and is just so wonderful to watch, especially the cutscenes, which really show how the animations and visuals shine. Now, I may have made it sound like this game is downright amazing, but there is one glaring issue that I found ruined a lot of my enjoyment for this game, and in turn pretty much broke me at points, that it got to the point that I transcended anger, blasted through my explosive wrath as I threw a heap of the most colourful language I know at a TV screen, and came out the other end simply feeling completely numb and failed to care about anything, and lied down to stare at the ceiling for a few hours. Now you're probably wondering, what made me go through such a whirlwind of emotions? And it's quite simple really. The bloody difficulty of trying to even attempt completing this game. And I don't mean the story mode, that's not gonna hassle you too much. I'm talking about trying to get every box on maps. I have no idea what the hell is going on here, but even when you go scouring the map for every box, for some reason I always was missing 1 or 2 bloody boxes. Now they have hidden some that you could easily miss, but I'm positive they are hiding some of these crates in areas that are not visible. Like, I know I'm a bit dense and lackadaisical, but it's pure agony when you have gone through a stage as carefully as you can, believing you have got every crate, looked in every nook and cranny, and then be presented with that dreadful number at the end and just missing out by the skin of your teeth. It's infuriating, especially with how bad I was at this game, where it would take multiple takes to finish the bonus stages, which, while satisfying when you finally clear them with getting every box, by the time you get to the end of the actual level and come to the realization that you've missed one box, your mind trickles back to the bonus stage that beat you black and blue, and any satisfaction you had is completely wiped away as if you never had it to begin with. This brought forward an untold fury I haven't experienced in a game, period. I have never been so angry with a video game before. And then about 60% through the game, I snapped. The game broke me. I found myself in a place of not caring at all and simply going through the motions as I just went through the game to beat it. Now, one could argue that this criticism I'm leveling at it is unnecessary as it's only meant for completion. And in retaliation to that, I would say, yes. And no. To me, trying to get all those crates is an integral part of Crash Bandicoot, and when you take it away, it becomes such an easier and less compelling game to play. Heck, even when this game utterly destroyed my soul, I was still trying to get as many boxes as I could, because it's so ingrained in my brain. Also, I'm pretty certain if you started skipping over boxes, the game would become much, much shorter. Then there's the fact that if you do decide to skip breaking boxes just to prioritize finishing a level, you'll miss out on some of the best platforming this game offers, and that would be a shame. Now, I think there was a way to fix this issue, that being having less boxes to collect. Levels have you collecting over hundreds of boxes, which is just absurd. There's no need for the sheer volume of crates on certain stages. But why is there so many? Just why? But there's another factor that adds into this. Levels are so very long, to the point of being in the double digits in minutes. And for the gameplay loop of smashing every box on a stage, it feels intrusively long to go back and try again when you missed a box or two. And I'm going to be upfront, the sheer length of these levels put me off doing the time trials altogether, because I knew I would die a hell of a lot with how tricky some segments can be, and I didn't want to subject myself to that torture, as I was already a broken man at that stage, and I'm not sure how I would have come out at the end of this game if I had tried those time trials. Maybe I really am just awful at this game and I'm blowing everything out of proportion and I just need to get good. But when comparing it to older titles, where boxes were easier to find, and levels aren't massive and felt comprehensible to the point that time relics felt obtainable to me, helps that most missions are under to slightly over a minute to beat. It feels fairer in the original trilogy. But let's get back onto less frustrating topics. The game has a few different modes and challenges. One of such is where you find tapes on levels that allow you to see the experiments Cortex did on Crash, which are just challenging platforming segments that are pretty fun to do. They're very similar to the bonus stages you come across in levels, just with the difficulty spiked up in my opinion. Then there's the multiplayer, which is sadly disappointing. There's two modes, one which is a time trial, and another where you break boxes to get a combo going and try to secure the highest score. Then you simply pass the controller around. It's depressing. This multiplayer feels tacked on and completely unnecessary. I was really expecting a lot more when I saw multiplayer, and I was expecting something a little different, like a minigame, perhaps along the lines of something from Crash Bash. Though to change gears a little, let's finish up with the music, because it's pretty damn good. It carries the same sort of tune to the original trilogy that just screams Crash Bandicoot, though it has some really catchy tracks that really stand out and some pretty killer boss music. Each world has its own sort of overarching theme that sounds unique to each world's tracks, linking the levels of a world together and making each world's music sound distinctive. Overall, they are excellent examples that really suit the locations you play in and are some good listening to outside of the game too. Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time is a weird game for me. I love so much of what it does, but I'm also contradicting myself as some of that stuff made me exceptionally angry in some of the worst possible ways. I don't consider myself a true completionist when it comes to games, but I definitely do try to complete games that interest me, and Crash 4 definitely was one of those games. But I couldn't will myself to put up a fight. This game beat me, it crushed me. My will crumbled into dust before quickly being scooped up and thrown in a bin. I felt despondent near the end of it, and that wasn't a good feeling. The bar felt set so high to the point of unreachable to me, which was never the case with the older titles, which I still had a good bit of trouble with, but always felt fair and obtainable. Maybe I really am just bad at Crash 4, and all of what I'm saying is pure nonsense. Also, to the lunatics who go for 100% and beyond in this game and get it, I salute you and admire your audacity to do so. You guys are absolute legends, and most likely insane. Now, I probably made this game sound soul-suckingly bad, but it's not. I feel it was still a great time. There is so much to love, and simply going through the game can still be fun. It's just not the same when you don't try to go for 100%, which just feels so much more true for Crash games. I feel if it had been fairer, I think this could be a wonderfully amazing game if it just felt that little bit more achievable. Because the controls, graphics, story, music, level design, and just everything else is brilliant. It just needs a little fine tuning with the length of some levels and making boxes at least easier to spot, as for the love of God I simply have no idea where they're hiding some of these buggers, and I know my failure at not finding them is going to annoy me for a long time to come. The fact that this game was able to drag out two very different types of emotions from me is also a testament to it, because it really shows that it had me hooked. But when you find yourself awake at 3 in the morning trying to do bonus rounds and failing miserably while you slowly lose what little of your sanity you have left, I think they went just a bit on the extreme side of things. I guess my final words on this is that it's a great game that I do adore. But it's also one of the games that I will hold an unhealthy rage towards for a long time.